This time on episode 269 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss The Punisher Season 1, Episode 13, Memento Mori, Marvel Weekly News, and your feedback.
I'm Anthony Bachman from All Things Good and Nerdy, a geeky podcast part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other fantastic geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
You have been granted clearance by Director Alfonso Mack Mackenzie. Stand by for a S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. The show is recorded on Sunday, February 10th, 2019, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast worldwide via www.geeks.live. Come on and join our live chat as we record, and we would love to chat with you. Ladies, happy National Cream Cheese Brownie Day.
Oh, now I know what I want for dessert.
That is very specific.
I know. So they've started on the National Day calendar website. They've started trying to source where these national days started from. There is no known source for this. So this could have been somebody just saying, you know what sounds good today? Cream cheese brownie. And then it became National Cheese Cream Brownie Day. I think that's what happened.
And this is how religions get started. All hail the cream cheese brownie.
Oh, hell. Oh, hell.
I thought you were going to go all hail Baltar.
Not a Welcome to Night Vale fan, huh?
And no, I haven't had the opportunity to consume that. Sorry. So National Cream Cheese Brownie Day. And I know I have brownies, but I don't know I have cream cheese. So at least I'm going to have brownies tonight. Anyway, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is now in its 38th hiatus week following the season 5 finale. The multiple Marvel Netflix series, which we're just concluding Punisher season 1 tonight, and the Marvel Cinematic and comic book universes in general.
Because of literally all the head trauma.
If you'd like to talk to us about all the head trauma, visit our website, legendsofshield.com.
You can call us at our voicemail, 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
You can find us on Facebook, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Podcast.
You can find us on Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can see our wonderful faces on YouTube, www.youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
You can tell your Amazon device to enable Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. skill.
You can join our Discord server chat at GonnaGeek.com/Discord.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network.
We're going to talk about the episode of The Punisher, the season 1 finale, which was the 13th episode, if you're superstitious, 13 as well, 13. The episode was titled Memento Mori, and as a reminder, all 13 episodes were aired on Netflix November 17th, 2017. We are now in February 2019, while season 2 has already been out. So we missed it by this much, but we're still here. Lauren, who directed this episode?
This episode was directed by Stephen Surjik. Surjik? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but he has 52 directing credits starting in 1985. And among such, his directing credits include Wayne's World 2 in 1993. He has a bunch of episodes of The Kids in the Hall, Avonlea, Da Vinci's Inquest, Monk, Flashpoint, Eureka, Psych, No Ordinary Family, Warehouse 13, Burn Notice, Arrow, 2 episodes of Jessica Jones, Person of Interest, Designated Survivor, this episode of The Punisher, 2 episodes of The Gifted, 2 episodes of Luke Cage, 2 episodes of Iron Fist, 4 episodes of Daredevil, 1 episode of Runaways, and 2 episodes of the upcoming, as in out this week, as of the week that we are recording, The Umbrella Academy. So he is no stranger to comic book properties.
Actually, I forgot to tell you guys, it's also National Umbrella Day.
That would have been great if they managed to time the release for Umbrella Academy for that day.
Yeah, I think they tried to. It's really close. It's so close. It's closer than us ending season 1 before season 2 comes out. Anyway, Michelle, who wrote this episode of The Punisher?
This episode was written by Steve Lightfoot, has 13 writing credits since 2004, including 20 episodes of Hannibal, was also the executive producer. 1 episode of Narcos, was also the consulting producer on that show, and 9 episodes of The Punisher. Stephen is the creator of the show and the executive producer. And The Punisher is based on the Marvel Comics by Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr., and Ross Andru.
All right, I mentioned the title before, Memento Mori, and the ladies correctly corrected me before, and Memento is not the candy. That's, it was so close. I was so close. But in any case, we often equate the theme of the episode to the title, and Haley usually gives us that equation, but she's not here. So Lauren, I'm going to pass it over to you. What do you think Memento Mori means in relation to the episode?
Well, the actual words, Memento Mori, it's Latin for remember you must die. And what it is an object that reminds somebody of mortality. For example, a skull. People used to place skulls around their desks and stuff to keep in mind the idea that death is always present. So we have Frank having his skull sprayed on his bulletproof vest, which I really think he should replace because it has been shot so many times. And just that whole, he's constantly thinking about his dead family. In the past episode, we had him remembering and kind of picturing his dead wife there. So if anybody's remembering that he's going to die, that death is inevitable, it's Frank.
Right. That was brutal with his family and his wife last episode. I wasn't on the episode last week because I was dealing with some family stuff. But yeah, that was brutal. I did watch the episode before we recorded here. Now, as of the bulletproof vest, you can actually change out the actual plates in there, whatever they are, Kevlar plates or whatever. You can change those out, and then you can keep the actual vest itself. It's going to get a little holy, Yeah, you can do that. Now, all vests are designed like that, but you can do that.
Things I did not know.
Yeah. So, Michelle, do you agree here? We're talking about remember you must die.
Yeah, I would agree that with Frank. I also would say that what happens to Billy, which we are going to talk about, that is his skull, so to speak, his little token that he will die because he is left with quite a few scars. That is the reminder of his mortality.
So we have a couple of reminders there. All right. With any Punisher episode, you got to go through the fights. And this big one, of course, was at the carousel where Frank is going there, and Billy played this beautifully. To get there, they had to go through Curtis, which I'm glad we got to wrap up Curtis in this series. Curtis was at home, and Frank knew that Billy was going to go to Curtis and basically used him as bait and trapped Billy in the house. But they both agreed, let's take this fight elsewhere. Let's leave Curtis out of this. And Billy entices him to go to this carousel. And then he basically booby traps it with a couple of kids that happen to be there fooling around after things have closed down. Carnivals never have that happen. A couple of kids fooling around after closing. That never happens.
Well, it's not a carnival. It's just a little carousel in the middle of Central Park.
Well, okay. So a little fun place in the middle of Central Park.
Yeah. So, first of all, I thought it was an interesting little parallel we see Micro getting back together with his wife, them fooling around, and then it cuts to the teenagers trying to do their fooling around, but here comes Billy to spoil the mood. But with regards to the scene in Curtis's apartment, we see exactly how well these three all know each other. We have Billy and Curtis, the whole, you need to trust me with regards to, you know me better than that with regards to, you aren't going to shoot me if I give you this phone, which Curtis just put him on speaker. Come on. And we have Billy knowing something is up, Curtis is stalling, and knowing to dodge before the bullet hits him. And it reminded me, and laugh if you must, but in Star Wars Episode 3, the part where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, and there's this part that a bunch of people are like, oh my God, that's so silly, it's so dumb. And it's the part where they're fighting, and there's this one part where they just spin their lightsabers at each other. And the whole point is that they know each other so well that they're looking for weaknesses and they can't find any. So they're at a bit of a standstill, just kind of stalling. But it looks kind of ridiculous because it's just these two grown men spinning lightsabers at each other. But that's the whole point, is it's these two equally matched people. And we see these two equally matched people, and they know, okay, I know what he's going to do. He knows what I'm going to do. And that's why we have them calling the truce and being like, okay, we're going to meet elsewhere.
Fair enough. So there was one other fight that happened before we get to the carousel fight, and that was the fight that Billy went through at his headquarters of, what was Avid? No, that's wrong. Anvil.
Anvil.
It's at the headquarters of Anvil, and he basically shoots all these agents which are coming to get him. I don't know if they're cops. I don't know if they're Homeland agents, but they're all gone. Billy takes care of every single one of them. And then, not in case, any of them were still alive, he goes ahead and he blows the whole place up.
That's why I really didn't call it a fight, because he just walks through and he's just like, bang. Well, not even bang. It's the little silencer. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, because the pistol was silenced.
Yeah, it wasn't a fight. It was just a slaughter. And I saw the little blinky red light and I'm going, okay, so there's going to be a boom as well. And yeah, so I really wouldn't call that a fight. But I think it's interesting to see Russo still be, I'm not a liar. I'm not really the bad guy. I'm just like Frank. Why does everyone think I'm worse than Frank?
Because you took the two kids and you strung them up on the carousel and you sliced something out of them so they were going to bleed out.
Yep. I saw, the whole scene where he's in his place and right before he blows it up, well, around the time he's blowing it up. Last episode, we were talking about how he's all, I have all these trappings of wealth and power and everything, and how important just the appearance of that is to him. And now here he is, he's having to get rid of all of that. He's having to, not only is he being driven out of this little home that he's made for himself, but he's having to destroy it himself. And I kind of got a vicious little satisfaction out of that. Just, you put all this importance in that and you did all this horrible stuff to try to keep that. And this is what happened.
Yeah, things did not go well for Billy in this episode. And I don't know the character's history or not. I don't know if the character has some memory issues or not, but they did set it up quite well at the end where I hope he remembers at least certain things. And we'll see what happens. But he did get some serious head trauma. And I was thinking about that when they were outside the carousel and Frank was just beating him, right? And I was thinking of fight plausibility at that point in time. I wasn't even thinking about memory loss or anything. But Frank's hitting him in the head. His head bounces off the concrete like twice. And then Billy fights back. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to be fighting back then. Billy is down at that point.
We have talked about this so much in this series, just the implausibility of these people surviving. Well, not even surviving, just being functional. after these head injuries they've taken. I think we talked about it a lot last episode, but yeah, he's got, okay, you know how shaken baby syndrome is that thing where because the baby's brain is kind of free floating, so it slams and it's basically the equivalent of whiplash. He's got that going on with the amount of times his head gets slammed back and forth. He has got serious head trauma going on even before the being shot in the cheek, spitting out the bullet, having his face dragged across broken glass. Okay, that was the first thing that got a really horrified, visceral reaction out of me. Like, I was sitting on the couch screaming. It was awful.
I have to admit, that moment, Frank kind of lost me at that moment. There's beating him up. And you're right. Okay, so let's go back. Beginning of this episode, Madani takes Frank to her parents because her dad is a doctor. And Frank must have a broken rib and a punctured lung, and they do that whole tube thing. And then a little bit later, there's Frank, shooting. And then there's going to the carousel, he's had all this blood loss. And yeah, Micro kind of helped in that. But here we go. More cracked ribs, more blood loss, getting beat up by Billy and shot a little bit. So there's that. How is he even breathing? How is he even functioning as well? Like, these two guys should not have even been able to have made it to the carousel, or they should have at least fainted or vomited halfway through their fight. There's
a point at which Billy stabs him in the arm with the knife and pulls it out. He should not be using that arm at this point. Those muscles and nerves are severed.
And Frank stabs Billy in the gut with a shard of glass.
Ugh.
The blood loss from that as well. They all should be dead.
Yeah, gut wounds are bad. Gut wounds are very bad. Just one day I need to just sit down and catalog. Oh, and the way Frank looks. Okay, we saw him last episode. We saw him at the beginning of this episode. He should look like Hamburger. He should look so much worse. There's nothing swollen. He's just bruised up a bit. It's not pretty, but he should look so much worse. I'm talking edema. I'm talking I don't know if you've ever seen anybody with horrible facial trauma but your face is going to swell a lot. I had a friend when I was in high school who just got dropped on the floor on her face. Not even from that high, maybe 3 feet up. We called her Quasimodo for the rest of high school because of how much her face swole up.
I was thinking that since I watched the episodes back to back, which I don't think you guys did, but I watched it back to back, and I was thinking specifically of Frank's makeup and where he miraculously looks fine at the beginning of this episode. Now, some time has passed at the end of the episode, where 3 days. 3 days is not enough, even with super healing, to get rid of all that.
I've had some nasty bruises before, and 3 days is not enough time for that to start turning yellow. I'm talking a lot longer.
Madani was much worse off, and so was Billy at the end than Frank was. Yeah. That's for sure. Frank just waltzed in the hospital room like, hey.
Frank was near death. May I remind you?
Well, he did get that shot of adrenaline the last episode, so, maybe that carried through.
Oh my God. I can't imagine what it's like to be an actual doctor watching this. I'm just somebody with kind of a slightly more than surface level knowledge of the human body.
Right. That's one of the reasons when I started, I'm not a medical professional. I don't know that much about medical procedures or anything, but I know enough. So it kind of takes me out of it when I'm watching like ER, which I know it hasn't been around forever.
Actually, ER was very good about that.
Well, true, but some of the, like the helicopter falling down on the guy.
Okay, that was hilarious.
Yeah. So okay, and Grey's Anatomy and so on and so forth. It's not something that I want to watch because I couldn't imagine being a doctor or a firefighter or an emergency services personnel on any of those shows going, because I know what it's like when they talk about rockets. I'm like, no, like the whole. Okay, so I do another podcast with Michelle called the Starling Tribune on Arrow, and remember that ending? I think it was season 4, Michelle, right, where the rocket was coming and it was going to decimate Star City, and they were just controlling it from the rooftop and stuff like. No, you guys are toast. It's over. Goodbye.
That was season 4.
It's amazing. It's like my household. Between my biology stuff and my spouse's engineering stuff, we ruin everything.
Yeah, well, you would love the latest Starling Tribune episodes because we're talking all about DNA sequencing.
Oh, God. Yes. Okay. Yes. Anyway,
so
we do have very nicely and thematically Frank saving at the same place where he lost his wife and son and daughter. We have him at the end of the whole carousel sequence, him with an alive woman and young-ish male and female. So that was very nice.
I was thinking about that, Frank just sitting there giving himself up. Obviously, that was part of it. I thought he was going to try to escape, but that wasn't going to happen. So he's just sitting there with Madani trying to hold Madani's wound closed, right? Trying to
just jiggle it. She has a head injury. Just jiggle her neck. It's fine. It's fine.
So he's sitting there cradling her, jiggling her, I guess. And then the kids, not knowing what to do, they're like, and they come sit next to him. So at least he's not going to get shot with the police, but they've seen him, right? So social media alone with kids these days, they would have seen his face and that's Frank, I don't want to be in, and they just sit down next to him going,
well, he did just rescue them.
And cut him down. True.
Yeah. And they know the guy that took them hostage, bad guy. Guy that saved them, good guy. I mean, Oh, and by the way, finding out that Billy was there that day, we had his whole, I didn't have anything to do with it, but then we find out he was there that day. He knew it was going to happen, and he was still there that day. After they were saying like, oh, we're your family and everything, just twist that knife deeper, Billy.
Yeah, Uncle Billy. And that story he told about Billy the kid coming from nothing, making something from himself. And then that whole, oh, how did he die? Oh, he got betrayed by his friends.
Not true. I am from Texas. We learned all the stuff about the Western. We had ranch heritage days at my school when I was younger. We learned all about, Sheriff Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And yeah, that's not how it happened.
Not once did Billy say, I'll make you famous. A little Young Guns reference there. Okay, there's a lot going on in this episode. There is.
Also, have you figured out who Billy is yet in the comics?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't spend any time into it.
May I finally tell you?
Yes, please, because he's there now.
Jigsaw.
Jigsaw face. I get it.
Yes, who Dominic West played in Punisher Warzone.
Cool.
Billy the Butte Russo.
So does Jigsaw have a mask on, or does he go out like with his face all messed up?
No, his face is just like, his whole mythology is he was a gangster, really good looking, got his face all cut up. Now he hates the Punisher.
It's a good thing Haley's not here because Pretty Face is gone. She was a fan of Pretty Face.
The thing is, in the previews and stuff for the next season, he still looks good. There's a trope. It's called good scars, evil scars. And there's the whole some characters are good, but they have a scar that makes them so tragic. But then at the same time, there's some people and they're evil, and you can tell because their face is scarred up and they're a monster. And this is actually a huge thing in the disability community because disfigurements are often used as a shorthand for evil characters. And it shouldn't be, because lots of people have facial scars and they are just people, like, acid attack survivors and people who have been in explosions or burns or just had bad luck or had an accident on the job. But because of that cultural shorthand, people tend to associate scar with evil. And it's just something to keep in mind while you're watching. Watch things critically.
I have a former boss who he had a horrible allergic reaction when he was like 2 years old, a year and a half, 2 years old. He told me the story once because I figured he got an acid bath thrown at him or something like that, because he'd been like that I've known him for decades. And then I finally started working for him and he told me the story and I was like, no, dude. So it was from a drug allergy, an intense drug allergy, but it looked like his face was in, like, his nose was barely there, and he's had several reconstruction surgeries, and he's just never going to look normal. Nice guy, but he looks evil just, because of the whole thing. And it's, some people just get a bad.
Yeah, keep in mind, it's like Dr. Poison in Wonder Woman. She has a scarred face and has to wear a mask. It's one of the cultural shorthands for evil person. And it's just something to keep in mind. We have all these shorthands for, okay, we need a villain. How do we make them known they're a villain? Give them a dead eye, like Rollins. The thing is, there's a lot of people who have, a disability that gives them an eye that looks like that, and they're fine. Make them an albino. There's a lot of albinos, they're fine. And in some countries, they're actively hunted for their body parts. Yeah, it's horrible. Just people with visible disabilities have had that, this shorthand working against them for a long time. And again, just watch your media critically. In this case, it's Frank being like, I want you to know, I want you to think of this. I am ruining this beauty that you're so proud of. But I'm not sure how that storyline is going to play out in season 2. I have not seen season 2.
Yeah, I've just seen this finale just a few hours before we recorded here, and it's all still very fresh in my head. And oh my gosh, just very, very vivid. This and the previous episode, because again, I wasn't here last week and I watched them both right before we did this. Now, a character that I did not think was going to make it all the way to the end was our CIA director. And she not only made it through last episode, but she made it through this episode. So I'm actually impressed. I called that she wasn't going to make it through the series. She's made it through season 1 at least. And she made a deal with Raffi basically to exonerate or clean up as much as they can Frank's life. And so now Frank gets to be Pete Castelloni again.
Yes, they're rewriting the narrative. Wilson and Russo are the only villains we need right now. We owe you a debt. You were betrayed. Blah, blah, blah.
And
yeah, I was fully expecting them to throw Madani under the bus. I'm very pleasantly surprised that they haven't so far.
Because director James likes her. And so does Raffi. So I think she's quote unquote protected. She did figure out a problem for both of them. They realized that and they were able to change the narrative, and both their agencies were able to move on. And they were able to paint the blame on Lewis and Billy. And I guess the Colonel got away scot-free then, right?
Well, I mean, he's dead, so.
Right.
Yeah, he really wasn't a public figure. They really didn't have to hide anything. He was a CIA agent. He died in the line of duty. There's his star.
Yeah, the people who had reason to want him dead. He's dead, so
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of pensions and whatever, and he didn't have anybody. He didn't have any family, to like a wife or kids to leave it off to, or kids that we know of. So, okay. All right. So that was taken care of. At the very end of the episode, you have Frank joining Curtis's group in person. And he's still a wanted man, right? So why would that group accept him?
maybe Curtis threatened them.
I could see that.
No, I was wondering that too. I was like, Frank, at least grow out the beard before you start going.
I think he's completely off the hook, I guess. I mean,
Frank is still wanted.
Yeah.
yeah, but Frank still looks like Pete. Pete looks like Frank. I mean,
Yeah, and they said, oh, we wiped all your identifiers, replaced your fingerprints in the system with a dead man. So your fingerprints now go to Pete Castiglione. So if anybody's like, I think this is Frank Castle, they fingerprint him. Oh, no, it's Pete Castiglione. Okay.
Well, unless they go into like Facebook and Instagram and fix that, you know,
He doesn't really seem like a Facebook kind of guy.
No, true, but all of the news reports over the course of this event that actually showed his face, I think that their algorithms would correctly identify him.
I don't know. Remember that guy who robbed that store in the UK that looked exactly like David Schwimmer?
Yes.
Just saying.
Are we sure it wasn't David Schwimmer?
He was like, I was in New York at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. All right. So we haven't talked about Micro and the end here. We talked about his reunion, but we haven't talked about the end here. So he gets to come back to his home with his kids, with his wife, and they're having that Thanksgiving dinner, just them. Frank decides not to go. Do you think this is a good wrap up for their family, Michelle?
I do. It gives Micro a nice happy ending. It's all wrapped up in a bow. He gave his testimony. He's not wanted anymore. The people who wanted him dead are dead themselves, or willing to, or, you know, the CIA lady is just like, okay, we'll clean up that mess too. And he gets to go home and do his thing.
All right. You think we're going to see him next season?
I don't think so. I don't see why.
All right. This is a one and done for the Micro family.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's opinion because we haven't paid attention to any of the news or anything. Yes, we know the series is out, and we know that, listener, you're going to tell us if we're right or wrong about that. But we haven't seen the series yet. We are going to cover it eventually, but I don't think we're going to.
What is time?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a lot to do, and
less time to do it in.
Yeah, we got a couple of big movies coming up. We got Captain Marvel, which is probably the most excited movie I've ever been into in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, coming up just next month, actually, just in a couple of weeks. So we've got that. We've got Endgame coming up later in April, so the month after that, really.
And then Spider-Man Homecoming is towards the end of the year, isn't it?
Right, but before we get there, we actually get our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've seen some previews of that along the way. So lots of fun stuff coming up in the future. But Michelle, you know, I don't know. What do you think we should cover next week?
Well, I think we have to admit Punisher is a bit dark. A bit. Or a lot dark. So we're going to I think change things up and go with the Runaways.
Yeah.
Right. Runaways. That should be fun. And to admit to everybody, I did have to palate cleanse the 2 episodes that I watched with a Hallmark holiday movie that was still on my DVR today. So yeah, I did watch some Hallmark holiday movie. Hallmark actually has movies year round. I don't watch the year round movies. I just watch the holiday stuff. So yeah, at least I'm cutting a line somewhere, and that's it. So Punisher season 1, I think it was well written, it was well acted, it had a lot of gory action. I liked the battle in the woods, but it was also gory. So yeah, actually will say I'm glad I watched it. Probably wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for the podcast, but I'm glad I did. Michelle, what do you think about the series so far?
I'm not a real Punisher fan. So I have to admit, I was a bit like, watching this. I do think it was well acted. I was on board with Frank up until that final fight where I think he just went a bit too far with the whole face dragging across the mirror thing. I mean, I know he's angry. I know he wanted to get revenge against Billy. But there's a line. We're supposed to at least root for Frank. He's supposed to be like this quintessential anti-hero, but in the end, we're supposed to at least root for him. And I mean, I hope he has a decent life and stuff, but I'm still like, okay, on the Punisher. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. It was great to discuss, but it's not like I'm really eager to watch season 2.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, which is why I'm not one for jumping right into season 2 right here. So, Lauren?
I think overall, the theme of the series with regards to characters like Frank and Lewis and Frank and Billy are, where do we draw the line with vigilantes and anti-heroes? And with regards to that crossing a line there with the dragging his face across, notice that he looks in the mirror and sees his face in those shards of glass and clearly doesn't like what he's seeing. And we're supposed to be questioning that all through the series. I'm not sure that the series did entirely a great job of keeping that question in mind all the way through. But overall, I think it did a good job of at least trying to pose that question. I really, really wish it had done better by Madani. And I wish we had more Karen, but then again, I've established that I ship Karen and Frank. And I really like the kind of playing off of Frank and Micro, given that they are kind of in a similar situation with regards to having to be in hiding, both being, family men, but one getting a happy ending, the other not, because kind of the thing about the Punisher is that the people around him get a happy ending and he never will.
And they did a good job explaining that with the storyline and everything. So yeah, again, I'm glad I watched it, but I don't think I'll watch it again ever. I think that this was a one and done for me. Like some of the other Netflix series have been, like the first season of Iron Fist, never going back on that. And I don't think I'll ever watch the first season of Jessica Jones again, just because of what a mind frack that was. But yeah, lots of great writing, lots of great performances. So they've done well, but all right. So next week we will take on The Runaways. So if you have anything to say about The Runaways season 1, please let us know, and we would love to hear from you.
We have some news. Our first story is a little sad because we had to say goodbye to a certain raccoon.
Yeah, this was really sad. Oreo the raccoon was the real life model upon which Rocket Raccoon was based. He was very friendly. He worked for an animal sanctuary. And because he was so friendly, he was able to be handled by, the artists, and kind of famously crawled all over Bradley Cooper on the red carpet once. And he died this week at 10 years old, which is really old for a raccoon. It's about the kind of top end of what they live to in captivity. He died of an illness. And so RIP, real life Rocket, you will be missed.
So just to clarify, he did not die because he found himself trapped in a garbage bin?
No.
Okay, good.
In happier news, we have Deborah Ann Wall got married.
I literally just found this out before we started recording. I was checking Twitter, and Deborah Ann Wall, who plays Karen Page, has been married since December. She and her spouse, E.J. Scott, eloped in December on their 11th anniversary of dating. We've talked about him before. He cosplayed Matt Murdock on the red carpet of Daredevil since he's going blind. They do a lot of fundraising for the foundation that for the disease that he has, choroideremia. Sorry. And they look so happy in the pictures. I linked to the Twitter announcement. They are adorable. So congrats to them.
Moving on to movie news with Captain Marvel. There's a Funko short.
Have either of y'all seen this yet?
Nope, not at all. I was just looking at Captain Marvel Funkos last night, and there was like 3 different versions of them, but I haven't seen this short.
Okay, this is on the Captain Marvel News Instagram. It's about a minute long. It's really cute. We see, I keep wanting to call her Monica Rambeau, but it's not Monica Rambeau. But she's in the plane, she's flying. Captain Marvel starts flying next to her. They're racing. Captain Marvel lands. Then we cut to Nick Fury with the cat. The cat kind of boops the camera. It's adorable.
Nice. I'll have to look that up.
Moving on to some TV news, we have major news for Legion, not only about when it's ending, but some casting news.
Legion will be ending after season 3, which is upcoming. But despite us talking about ratings and everything, it doesn't sound like the viewership and the ratings have anything to do with it. Noah Hawley was talking to Cinema Blend and other press during a TCA panel and just said that endings give stories meaning. He also said that he said last year, "I've never done a second season of anything, so I always thought about this as a complete story with a beginning and an end, and it felt like 3 acts of a story, so this just felt like a natural place to end it." And there's some other comments that he said that we're linking to Jeff Loeb talking about it a bit, talking about Noah Hawley's point of view and about how if he ever has another idea and with these same characters, they're saying like, "Yeah, we'll do it. Let's go." So we'll see what comes with that. We'll see what ending he has planned. I have no doubt it will be a mindfrack. And with regards to the casting, Professor X and Gabrielle Haller, who are David's parents, have been cast for Legion Season 3. And they are recognizable faces. We are not getting James McAvoy and Sir Patrick Stewart. We are getting Harry Lloyd, who played Viserys Targaryen in the first season of Game of Thrones. And Gabrielle will be played by Stephanie Corneliuson, who is also known for playing Joanna Wellick in Mr. Robot. These are both really good actors, and I look forward to seeing what they do.
I'm looking forward as well. And with the Fox X-Men Enterprises franchise in total disarray, doubt right now, basically, between Fox really not knowing what to do with them and Disney purchasing Fox, which is still an ongoing thing. Nobody knows what the future of everything's going to go on. So I could see this being a perfect time to not recast, but cast a different Professor X. And let's face it, we're going to get more different Professor X's as time goes on anyway. So might as well start here.
The Marvel-verse is a multiverse, so
Yeah.
And talking about Disney and Fox and such, Disney has promised something about Deadpool.
Disney is promising that Marvel will keep making R-rated Deadpool movies. We've talked about how, I think we have talked about how with Disney acquiring it, will they PG-13 it down? This article on Variety starts with, "There may be a few more F-bombs dropped around the Magic Kingdom." Bob Iger, who is the Disney chairman and CEO, has said that Disney will continue to make R-rated Deadpool movies and other adult-oriented Marvel adventures after it absorbs Fox. saying we will continue in that business, and there's certainly popularity with those type of films, but that they won't be released under the traditional Disney or Marvel banner, so that it's carefully branding R-rated films, so we're not in any way confusing the customer.
I'm glad, because I actually have enjoyed the last two Deadpool movies, and I'm glad they're keeping the same tone. But I realize that, Disney, I guess as long as it makes money, Disney's okay with it, right? But if it paints their brand poorly and starts to not make money, then they worry about it.
Capitalism.
Apparently.
Moving on to feedback on Twitter, we heard from @AdonnaGirl.
Can Chris Evans and Brie Larson please present together at the Academy Awards so they can greet each other? Captain? Captain? I'm for this. Are you?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Who else is a captain in the Marvel Universe? That's what I was thinking. It's not Rhodey, because he's a colonel.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really bad with remembering ranks.
Yeah. Is there a Navy captain? No. All right. So yeah, it would be great for those two.
I guess technically Star-Lord flies his own ship, so he would be a captain. I guess. Maybe.
Captain Star-Lord? I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the son of a Celestial, so.
Yeah.
And we heard from @BornToEatBacon.
He retweeted Heroic Hollywood, adding, "Oh yeah, who's your daddy? Oh yeah." And the tweet from Heroic Hollywood says, Deadpool 2 is now the highest grossing X-Men movie of all time.
I'm not surprised. I'm not. First Class was amazing, and it probably should have been a higher grossing film than it was, but I'm not surprised, because this is coming off the tails of the love story, right? With the original Deadpool. So it has pull from everybody. Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
Right?
Plus they're including the take from the PG-13 Once Upon a Deadpool, which I still haven't seen, but that kind of brought it to a wider audience, brought it to sort of a different international audience, because it was allowed to play in China with that, cut of the movie.
Wow, that's amazing.
The little film that could.
Yeah. And on Discord, we heard something from Mark D.
So this is in response to a conversation that I brought up. Again, speaking of Deborah Ann Wall, because I can't get enough of her, I brought up that she has a show on Geek and Sundry's Project Alpha called Relics and Rarities. It's a D&D show. She runs the game. She brings in some celebrity guests along with the regular crew. And for Marvel fans, among the regular crew, I forget his name right now, and I'm kicking myself, but he played one of Fisk's bodyguards in season 1 of Daredevil. And among the celebrity guests, among people such as Matthew Lillard and Kevin Smith, you also have Charlie Cox, Daredevil, and Simone Missick, Misty Knight. So, But Mark D said, finished Relics and Rarities, definitely worth it. Deborah Ann Wall absolutely slays as a DM, and she wrote the entire campaign. The production on the show is excellent, and she makes it feel good to watch. The first episode, I should say, because the first episode played for free on Project Alpha on Thursday, since Critical Role was taking a break this week. And having watched it myself, it's really fun. It's got a lot of kind of a spooky haunted house meets Indiana Jones, The Mummy. You're looking for relics and stuff kind of vibe. It's a lot of fun. Just the characters play off each other really well. Deborah is fantastic at bringing a vibe. I've seen her play. I've now watching her GM. She's great. If you love role-playing games and you love Deborah Ann Woll, give it a chance.
I watched it. It was amazing. Poor Matthew Lillard and his dice. He's like, I'm this Dragonborn sorcerer. I have this great background, and then I perceive nothing.
Yes. Yeah, the first episode, they're at this haunted house and they're trying to figure out like what went on and things such as, okay, well, our gnome is about the size as this dead child would have been. Let's dress him up in the dead child's clothes so he could talk to this other ghost and things like that. It was a lot of fun. The bard, like, kind of making people am I correct in remembering, because I was kind of sick that night, that at one point they all started kind of doing the Macarena because of the bard?
Yeah, the bard had like a little dance when she healed, and she also was making stuff. Like she made a basket, and then she took all the books and she wrapped everything up. And
yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you think D&D is just, roll dice, hit things. No, this one is really puzzle based. Yes, there's combat at the end, but come on, it's Deborah Ann Woll. It's Karen Page telling an interactive ghost story. It's fun.
And if you want to take part in more conversations like that, you can go to our Discord server at gonnageek.com/Discord. Meantime, we are going to imitate Billy with the one thing that we love to imitate Billy on in this episode. And we're going to be cool podcasters. We're going to be cool podcasters, and we're going to walk away from the explosion on the way out. We've come to the end of another season of a series, and it was good to have the therapy afterwards with everybody. So thank you very much for both hanging in there with us and actually contributing. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you to everybody who has contacted us, whether it's on Twitter or Discord or just anything. Sent us links that you think, hey, these people might like this. Sent us news items. We really appreciate that. Makes my job a little bit easier. We really love hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening to our ramblings. Hope you've had a good time listening to us talk about the Punisher. I mean, considering the tone of the Punisher, I hope we've been able to lighten it up a little bit and listening to our ramblings about how we are surprised Frank is still alive. We appreciate it all.
We do indeed. And might I say, I am very thankful for Marvel for putting in a drone scene. Thank you very much. So until next time, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
See you guys next time. Bye.
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 Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D is copyright 2013 through 2019.